It's the last month of the year and it's all about learning through challenges. Yes, it might be a little bit hard, but we have some supportive energy that helps us learn from our mistakes. What is growth without a little bit of unexpected outcomes? Welcome back to the Hella Fluid Collective podcast. I'm your host, Sarah, and I love all things astrology and using it to help us tap into our creative flow. On this episode, we will be giving the energy forecast for the month of December. As always, all of the transits are listed down below. I don't give every single transit that's happening because it would be like freaking really long. But I do in my week ahead forecast, so make sure you subscribe so that you can see those, or head over to my Instagram or TikTok if you want those in a quick little 90-second reel or a little carousel with graphics. 2 quick announcements. If you want this information delivered to your inbox, make sure you subscribe to my newsletter where you get that, plus 1 other email a month where you can learn how to use the astrology in a practical way. And as we're getting towards the end of the year, it's a fabulous time to book a year ahead reading. And of course, I'm going to offer you a discount where you can get 20% off. And if you've already checked out my readings before, you might want to check them out again because I have offered a new structure. And there are 3 tiers now offering different pricing points if the premium reading is just a bit too much. So I have the basic reading where we go over the most important transits. So those are going to be like the outer planet transits and what houses that they're hitting, which will give you basically the themes and the lessons that you'll be learning throughout the whole year and each of the quarters. This is kind of a more high level, but will really touch on all the things that you need to know about. There'll also be a theme for each month, so lots to work with. It's really still pretty detailed. Or I have my moon forecast where we look at each new and full moon and where it lands in your chart so that you can get ahead and figure out what each new and full moon is asking you to do. What new cycles would be helpful for you to start and what things would be helpful for you to let go of. We'll look at how it connects with other planets in your chart and what house it falls in so it tells you what area of life it's focusing on. Or if you want all the freaking details, then you would love the premium forecast, which has the moon forecast along with a super detailed forecast of all of the transits that are happening for you in your personal chart. And just to differentiate, this horoscope that I give here is about the collective. So it doesn't really mean that all of us are going to feel every transit, because how these things hit your personal chart is going to take precedent. The personal reading also tells you where in your chart it's happening. These personal readings are the best way for you to understand how it's going to impact you. So if you want to get 20% off of any of those tiers that I just mentioned, make sure you book by November 30th using the code NOVEM2024. I'll link all that below, and it's on my website as well too in the description of each and every year ahead forecast. All right, let's get into the astrology of December 2024. So the first transit that we have is Venus moving into the sign of, and this happens on December 6th, where she will stay until January 2nd. Now this is going to give our relationships, our finances, our value systems a dose of innovation, of independence, of detachment, and individuality as well. A bit more time with your friends and community as opposed to your boo or your family. Had a lot of family time before, now it's time to hang out with our friends. There's this drive to build connection through shared values with Venus in Aquarius. There's also this urge to show up as who you truly are. So showing up to these social gatherings, but in an authentic way. You're going to want to show up in your unique, quirky way, show off all your weirdness. However, be mindful that a lot of us are going to be feeling this way, so don't take up too much of the limelight, and also be accepting of others showing up in their true self, in the way that they want to show up. This is just like a weird little thing that I also picked up on Like fashion is associated with Venus, and Aquarius is about technology. Like I was just picturing like Xenon girl from the 21st century, us getting very technical with our fashion. And I mean like technology, like wearing technology, wearing, you know how she had her little like chip in the ear, her little whatever that was. I loved that. I don't know. I would love for that to have, for fashion to have a little like technology peak. I don't know. Right. As for business owners, if you're somebody who gets a little too emotionally overwhelmed when you're doing your finances, this would be a really good energy to approach your finances with, because it gives us a sense of detachment when we're approaching our finances. We can approach it more objectively. It's also a really fun time to try things that are unconventional, especially when it comes to the things that you're creating. Venus loves to create. How can you bring your weirdness into what you're creating for your business or in your practice? There's definitely more of a willingness to try and find out during these few weeks. Then on December 7th, we have Mars stationing retrograde, where it will stay retrograde until February 24th. Yes, this is like almost 3 months. Mars retrogrades once every 2 years, so it's not every single year, but it's not super rare. And Mars is going to start its retrograde in the sign of Leo, but it's going to do the latter part of its retrograde in Cancer. Yes, we've already experienced Mars in Cancer. It's a little uncomfortable, so Mars retrograde in Cancer isn't going to be very comfortable either. The last time we had Mars retrograde was at the end of 2022, and it was in Gemini for its entirety of its retrograde. And I don't know about you, but my life was kind of a mess back then. It was the start of some crumbling. So that was a bit messier. Gemini is a bit more chaotic. I don't know what's going to happen with this one. However, there's a lot of potential for figuring some shit out. Anytime Mars goes into retrograde, it has us reflecting on our actions, on our approach, on our motivations, what we truly desire. It's all about figuring out what we want and how we go after getting it. Unfortunately, it can bring up some conflicts from the past, which no one likes. However, it does bring an opportunity to actually resolve them. So, silver lining. Mars also rules our physical energy, so don't be surprised if over the next 3 months you're just really tired. You don't have it in you. But honestly, the timing is kind of fantastic because it's winter, baby, okay? We're supposed to be recharging. All of our leaves are on the ground and we are soaking up the energy from the earth. We are chilling. We're resting, okay? It's not really a time for doing. We are reflecting on the year. We're reflecting on what we want for next year. The vibes kind of match. So don't push yourself. If you push yourself, it's a lot easier to get into a phase of burnout when we're in Mars retrograde. So be very mindful to not burn yourself out. So let's talk about the Mars retrograde when it's in Leo. Okay, that has us reflecting on our actions towards our creativity, towards our self-expression, towards our relationship with play. I would love to see people bringing more play into their creative processes if they're not already. Reflect on what's stopping you from doing so. Now, when Mars retrograde is in Cancer, that's more about our emotional stability. What can we do to provide ourselves more emotional stability? Are you someone that needs to spend more time alone? Maybe you need to set better boundaries. Maybe you need to build better coping skills. Whatever it is, really reflect on what you need to do so that you can feel your emotions without having them take over everything. I think I'm going to be making a YouTube video on Mars retrograde alone, going into what it means for each of the houses. So stay tuned. I'll link that below if and when I get that up. For now, I do have a Mars in Cancer video that I'll link here so that you can see what house Cancer rules for you and what Mars in that sign means. But I'll do a more specific one for Mars retrograde. As for business owners, like I mentioned, when it's in Leo, look at your creative workflows and see how you can add more fun and self-expression into that if you aren't already. Really dive into what's stopping you. And for Cancer, it's about getting super tight with your self-care practices. Maybe that's on a physical level, maybe it's on an emotional level, but really tapping into what is going to give you that emotional security. Honor your needs, make more time for yourself if you need to, rest and lay low. Next is on December 7th, and that's Neptune stationing direct. Neptune is a planet that retrogrades every single year, and it's for like 4 or 5 months every year, so it's not that big of a deal because it's like half the time. But it will be direct until July 5th, 2025. With this, we might get some clarity around spirituality, around creativity, around creative visions. It brings in this channel of inspiration, especially that which comes from spirit, God, divine, whatever it is that you connect to that's kind of like a greater or a higher spirit than us. Whatever your connection with spirituality is, if you feel that you channel your creative projects or you channel messages, things like that, that flow, that portal becomes that much bigger when Neptune is direct. And with it being in Pisces, that really just doubles down on all of these things, doubles down on the compassion we feel towards others and ourselves. Connecting to the universal truths is a lot easier as well. Now, Neptune does start to move into the sign of Aries next year. However, when it retrogrades next year, it's going to dip back into Pisces. So this is not our last Neptune in Pisces retrograde. We get one more, but it's the second to last. So it really makes now a good time between now and then to really get attuned with your spiritual practices and beliefs. For business owners, are you bringing your spirituality into your business or your creative workflows? So what does that mean? Like, how do you get your creative inspiration? Is there something or a practice that you can tap into before you start creating the next product or the next project so that you know it's coming from spirit or coming from your higher self, whatever you want to call it? Is there a meditation that you can do that puts you in a space of receiving? Now would be a really good time to create that practice. Next is on December 15th, which is a full moon in Gemini. This full moon is a great time for reflecting how we communicate, how we adapt, and how we share ideas and learn from each other. The moon, as always, is about our emotions. Gemini is more of the mind, it's more of the intellect, it's more of the communication, the curiosity. So with this, it's asking us to find balance between our emotions and logic. It's a great time to let go of communication patterns that just don't resonate anymore. Like if you leave certain conversations feeling annoyed, triggered, drained, it's a good time to get curious about that. Wonder why, and are there any boundaries that you can put in place that can help alleviate those feelings after those conversations. Maybe you don't talk about those things with that person anymore. In this full moon chart, we also get a almost exact trine with Mercury and Mars. And this is a really supportive transit that brings together our action and our desires with our mind and our communication. So it's whatever we need to do to take action towards bettering our communication patterns, towards letting things go. We have that supportive energy from Mars and Mercury. This transit is also going to bring your brain a bunch of energy, so like a huge mental boost to help figure things out. As for business owners and creatives, this would be a really good time to reflect on your marketing strategies and the way that you show up in any communications, whether it's in emails, content, social media. Figure out if you're really showing up authentically or if it feels forced. Anything that's not resonating with you, let it go with this full moon. That's what full moons are all about, letting it go. Any outdated strategies, let it go. And especially with Gemini, a mutable sign, it's going to be very adaptable. So if you let it go, make new space, then something else is going to come in that maybe you hadn't thought of before. Then on December 21st, we get the sun moving into the sign of Capricorn, where it will stay until January 19th. Happy birthday, Capricorns. The sun in Capricorn is all about ambitions, goals, long-term goals, your status, achievements, and your relationship to discipline and responsibility. Yes, there's a reason why we're all so compelled to set new goals at the new year. And while I feel like spring feels more aligned with new beginnings, I do like to use Capricorn season to get in touch with what those new beginnings might be. So starting to set intentions, maybe not taking action on them yet, but getting really in touch with what those intentions might be. Capricorn is a cardinal sign, a cardinal earth sign. So it's ready to start taking action. It's ready to start taking initiative. It's ready to start doing things, but in a really grounded and stable way. So we're not just charging ahead, we're taking our time with it. As for business owners and creators, this can be a really productive time to problem solve or just getting organized. There's a little bit of a slowdown from other people, so it's a good time to focus on what you can organize in your systems or in your online business, all over the place. Just getting organized, getting focused again for the new year. Be mindful of working too hard because Capricorn energy can do that. It can lead to burnout, and especially while we're in Mars retrograde, we don't want to be burning out. We want to be easing and relaxing into the slower energy that this season brings. Then on the 24th, we have Jupiter, which is in retrograde, squaring Saturn. Now, if this sounds familiar to you, that's because we have experienced this transit in August. It kind of serves as a little bit of a reality check because Jupiter is all about the future and being optimistic and dreaming big, and Saturn is quite the opposite of that. It's more about standing where we're at right here, right now, and understanding the limitations that we might be faced with. Now, a reality check often sounds harsh, but it's really important to actually achieving our dreams, because if we have unrealistic expectations, it's going to be hard to make those achievements, right? So what this transit does is it really has us facing where we are right now and where we can start from. Jupiter is in retrograde, so that has us turning inward a bit with this transit and figuring out what expectations are we putting on ourselves that really aren't aligned. Now, Jupiter is in Gemini, Saturn is in Pisces, okay? And the next time, we're gonna get this connection one more time, and then we won't again for 10 years. We're gonna get it in June of next year. However, when it happens, Jupiter is going to be in Cancer, and Saturn is going to be in Aries. So it's going to be quite a different flavor once we get there. We'll talk about that more later. I'll talk about that in my 2025 year ahead video coming up soon. For now, with Gemini and Pisces, this is about taking our grandiose, our expansive ideas and grounding them in reality, but doing so with our intuition. Our intuition is really tapped into this process. So it's about finding a way to know on a deeper level, on a spiritual level, how we can decipher what is realistic and not. Not necessarily from a logical mind, but from an intuitive, spiritual place. And both of these are mutable signs. So again, it's going to bring that adaptability and that willingness to adapt into this reality check as well. As for business owners and creators, this is a transit that asks us to let go of the distractions and focus on what's achievable. It's time to prioritize commitments that make sense to you and that align with you. And when I mean distractions, I mean things that you know just don't work for you. Stop trying to go after that. If you hate writing cold emails, stop writing cold emails. I also suggest being okay with a little bit of mental fogginess that may come with this transit. It does happen over the holidays, so don't try too hard. Then on December 29th, we get Chiron stationing direct. Chiron, again, is another planet that retrogrades every single year for 5 months, half the time pretty much. So not that big of a deal, but it's nice to have some forward movement. When it's retrograde, we are looking inward at our healing processes. We're looking at healing ourselves. When it's direct, we get some forward and outward movement towards pushing past our own insecurities and being that person who we are after we stop letting fear be the driver. With it being in Aries, and it has been for a while, we get a sense of courage and confidence to be ourselves. It's healing our relationship with ourselves in relation to other people, if that makes sense. It also has to do with our own autonomy, which also has to do with other people as well. Old fears and self-doubts may start to lose their power, allowing for greater self-acceptance. As for business owners and creators, I would use this energy to continue to let go of those things that just don't align with you. I feel like I've said that a lot this month. That's the theme. It's really the theme of this year. Okay, we're making space for the new. But this energy in specific is very supportive to help you push past the wounds that are holding you back. Chiron is related to kind of deeper, consistent wounds that we may have been feeling throughout our whole life. And so really tapping into those and seeing how they're working their way into your business. We'll get some forward movement to help move past those. Last up for the month is a new moon in Capricorn on December 30th. This new moon marks new beginnings in all things regarding your ambition, your career, your responsibilities, and your sense of stability. As mentioned, Capricorn is the cardinal earth sign, so it's ready to take initiative, especially towards practical things. Within this new moon chart, we also get a Mercury trine to Chiron, which is a super supportive connection that brings healing into our communications. This is going to be the third and final touchdown of this transit, so if it sounds familiar to you, it's because the retrograde had us feeling it a few times. But now this time it is forward moving, so it's very healing. Whether you're having conversations with other people, conversations with yourself, journaling, writing, whatever it may be, there's lots of growth to be found through that. If you do any end of year reflections, the energy is super supportive to gain something from it. This Mercury trine Chiron has actually happened with the previous new moon, the new moon in Sagittarius. So I feel like it's really asking us to connect our emotions into it and really pointing to the new beginnings that can come once we heal these wounds, especially with Chiron moving direct. I love that. As for business owners and creators, this new moon invites you to focus on practicality and structure and your ambitions. It's an ideal time to start thinking about your intentions and what you want for the new year. Again, maybe not taking action on them yet if you don't feel like you're ready to do that. Personally, get a lot of energy during Capricorn season and get a lot of ideas. So I love to just kind of throw a bunch of mud on the wall and see what sticks. I'm not set on making sure everything works out perfectly. So, I don't know, if you feel that, go for it. If you feel like starting something new, go for it. But most importantly, if you don't feel like starting something new, you don't have to. You don't have to. It's not about that. It's just about getting in touch with what your ambitions are, not necessarily completely following through on them. All right, that's it for the month of December. That's it for 2024. Can you believe it? Now, down below, if you want more details on the month of December, I have 3 little sections. One is called Supportive Days, which is self-explanatory, Spicy Days, which are days with more harsh transits, and Dynamic Days, which are days that have both. You can see the list of those down below, but if you want to find out a little bit more about what's going on for each of those days, make sure you head over to my blog where I have quick little sentences that describe the energy for that day. Knowing these is really helpful for planning if you're planning parties or events or meetings or anything like that. Sometimes just having a little bit of a heads up of these energies might help you plan a little bit better if you have flexibility over what day to do it on. So head over there to see that, or if you just want the dates, you don't want the information, it's in the description below. Other than that, I know it's holiday season. I hope you guys are making choices that give you energy. I know sometimes being with family can be draining for some people, so this is a great year to practice boundaries and figuring out what boundaries would really help you feel emotionally stable. If you're traveling, mask up. Just mask up, wear a mask on the plane. It really helps preventing you from getting sick. It helps other people from getting sick. You don't know if you're sick and you're carrying something without symptoms, so please just mask up. Not that big of a deal, it's really not. And it saves lives, okay? There's something going around that's not COVID and it's freaking nasty. Anyways, beautiful people, I hope you have a lovely end of 2024. 2025 is going to be one for the books. So make sure you book your year ahead reading so you can get a little bit of foresight, or you can just hear the collective horoscope that will be coming out on my channel shortly. All right, I love you babies, and until next time, stay hella fluid, y'all.